Good morning, sir. Here I will explain a little about how to assemble a computer properly in the English language method. To assemble and design computer, we have to prepare the tools and materials needed to become a complete computer. Namely, preparing a place to assemble the assembly tools and materials such as motherboards, processors, heatsinks, memory modules, power supplies, cables, device, casing, and so on. And on my screen, there are also several display of materials for assembling computer. To assemble a computer requires or has several steps and methods, namely the preparation stage, the assembly stage, the testing phase, and problem handling. And I will explain the purpose of the text stakes. The step to assemble a complete computer with picture. In assembling a computer, there are several steps that you must do first. The steps are 1. Preparation. Prepare in advance the component needed to assemble a computer. Do the assembly in a place where you feel free to move so it does not interfere with your activities. 2. Assembly process. Start assembling computer components by installing one by one the nearest hardware. 3. Testing when the assembly process has been complete. The next step is testing. At this stage, the computer that has been assembled will be turned on the operated. The operation run normally. The assembly process has been complete, but if there is a problem, then process 2. The next process, namely dealing with the problem that occurred. 4. Troubleshooting. At this stage, the computer that has been assembled turned out to be having problem or troubleshoot. This can be caused by the installation process or import placement of components. Therefore, further handling is needed so that the computer can operate normally. Preparation before assembling computer include computer assembly process after the preparation process of complete. Now is the time to carry out the next process, namely the computer assembly process, which is defeated by the following stage. Install the mainboard jumper, install the processor, install the heatsink or processor fan, install memory, install the mainboard on the casing, install the VGA card, install the power supply, attach the motherboard cables, install ODD optical device, drive, such as DVD and HDD hard disk drive. Finishing completion PC tests. Then read the mainboard manual. Weight box first so you know where the jumper will be. Jumper is a small component that is placed on the mainboard to control the CPU and the voltage that enter the mainboard. Wrong jumper strings can result in damage to the processor. So be careful when installing this jumper by making sure you attach it correctly. Okay. To install processor. Install the processor on the mainboard will be easier to do if the mainboard is not installed in the casing. This that need to be considered when installing a processor, namely, first determine the position of one pin. Usually, there is a mark on the processor at each figure 10. Insert the processor according to the pin direction. Leave the lock lever in an upright position and open then attach the processor to the processor socket on the mainboard. After the processor is installed on the mainboard, return the lock lever downward to close the processor. Install the heatsink. Processor fan. The processor has a not temperature when the computer is turned on. Therefore, a fan is needed to reduce the heat. The heatsink is a fan that is mounted directly above the processor. To install it is quite easy. Just insert the legs into the mainboard and fasten it. The heatsink is equipped with a connector that is attached to the mainboard for power. 4. Install memory. Generally, the memory used at this time of the RAM type DDR2 and DDR3. So, make sure before that the memory socket on your mainboard is a socket type of this my type match. How do install memory is quite easy, namely by adjust the extending pin in the memory with the slot on the mainboard. 5. Installing the mainboard of the casing. The next step is to install the mainboard to casing. How to install the mainboard on the casing is by determining the holder or mounting of the mainboard on the casing. If the stand has been installed, then you need some tools such as screwdriver to tighten the screw. Position the I or O correctly. Be careful and slow when installing it so that the mainboard is not damaged or broken. 6. Install the VGA card. After the mainboard is installed in the casing, the next step is to install a VGA card. How to install a VGA card is basically almost the same as how to install memory, namely by adjusting the slot in the mainboard. You can see the placement of the VGA card the on the mainboard in the mainboard manual instruction diagram that show the AGP slot. Okay, this number 8. It's the motherboard cable. Connect all cable available on the power supply to the mainboard to provide power set according to the image below and left and cable for HDD and UDD. And number 9. Install ODD optical device drive such as DVD and HDD hard disk drive. After the power supply cables are attached to the mainboard, the next step is to install the hard drive on the casing. Adjust its hard drive according to the drive space in the casing. Bytes. Usually, for DVDs it is placed on the top front casing, while the HDD has its own byte. Open the cover of the drive by on the casing and then attach and tighten the screw. If the hard drive has been installed perfectly, then plug the cable from the power supply to its hard drive. Okay. And finishing, number 10, complication. Now, after all the cable and connector have been connected, so is the mainboard in the casing. Now is the time to finishing by checking all the function of the component that have been assembled into PC computer. The checking step you can take are as follows. A. 1. Fit the casing cover perfectly using a screwdriver tool. So, connect the VGA port the cable to the monitor and plug the monitor power cable. 3. Plug the CPU power cable into the socket or power switch and turn on. When the monitor and PC are turned on, if there are no problem, then the PC will interpose the mode and all you have to do is adjust the BIOS settings. Problem that often occur: the cable installation error, improper installation of component, and so on. Usually, the error will be detected immediately and the PC will use a signal in the form of a beep with a regular tone. Check the wiring again and check the position of the component. If the unit is running normally, then set the BIOS and installing the operating system. Don't forget to also prepare the application installation CD and device for test command. Thank you.